Good evening. How are we doing? How are we doing? How many people we got watching? Cran, I can see you. Lex, Mick, you're always here. How are we? How are we? We. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leap straight into things because this might end up being a bit of a short one, and there's some things I want to get done first, if you know what I mean, because it's techniques I haven't done tutorials on yet. So you can hear I've got the airbrush going on in the background. So I'm going to get on straight on with this this Forgefiend. There we are. In a Word Bearer style, which is one of my Word Bearers miniatures. So dark red and sort of a silvery, goldy silvery type thing. So that's what it will look like, and I'll be weathering it and doing all kinds of great stuff with it. Netherlands. What are you doing? Oh yes, you've got your guild meet thing, haven't you? How's that going? Hi Jamie. Okay, yes. What was I doing? I was doing that, wasn't I? I was going to get some primer out. Shake some primer. What have I been doing? Well, at the weekend I was at Fest 2 with a bunch of awesome people playing 40k and taking lots of pictures and such. A lot of the pictures that I took are up on my Instagram, so if you're not already following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram and then you'll be able to see the pictures. Failing that, they were up on Say Hi Paul's Discord, so if you're not a member of Say Hi Paul's Discord, then well, frankly, subscribe to Say Hi Paul and join his channel, so that you too can join the wonder that is Say Hi Paul's Discord and the community there is, because it's pretty good. Right, distracted again. What was I doing? Yes, right, yes. Black stuff on this. Okay, go. Okay. Scratch. This is when I find out this doesn't work. I had to give my airbrush a little bit of a clean before coming on air. I don't know whether it actually works because I've not tried paint through it yet. So let's have a quick look. Yeah, no. Why would that work? Why would that work, Rogue? You know, why would that work? That's just crazy talk. Right, okay, I'm going to pour that out. And we're going to do a bit of on-air airbrush fixing, because without this, nothing happens. Right. Tissue, a bit of a clean. Let's take the back off. This is why we test things before coming on air. Like I didn't. And this is why you don't. Ooh, oh, good God. There we are. Oh, it's like giving birth, I assume. Right. Let's get that a bit of let's get a bit of thinner on there. So I didn't clean this properly when I put it away last time. Evil me. I was probably in a hurry or tired or both, seeing as that's how I live my life these days. And I forgot to clean it properly. So let's give that a try without the needle in. So okay, we're getting airflow now. Good, yes. Excellent. We're getting some paint through as well. Good. Oh me, oh my. Right, splooch. Eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that I have resprayed my wet palette top, because it was looking a bit grotty. It was looking very grotty. So I resprayed that. And you know what I was saying about what was I saying about what? Come on, brain. I was saying something about something, and it was really important. That's why I've forgotten it. It was about speed paints. Yes, speed paints. Not that speed paint. One of the speed paints. All of the speed paints bleed through. Now you will notice, the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that in the corner of this palette there is that. Now I've not put any new paint on there. That has bled through this Wraithbone spray, and there's about 3 or 4 coats of Wraithbone spray on this, so yeah, be a little bit careful with these speed paints. They're really good, and if you know that's going to happen, you can make use of that, but you know, there's also a bit there. So, right, okay, so now we have a semi-functional airbrush. Let's get that poured back into, no, so make sure it is actually semi-functional. Yep, cool. And back in it goes. Right, okay. Oh, scuppered at the priming stage. Excitement all around. So yeah, Saturday, Paul Fest 2 in Belper. That was being run by, or at least hosted by, Tabletop Events. Organised and the event was organised and set up by our very own Lexicus Mick there, because he is some sort of enthusiasm machine. So he did all that, and that was brilliant. And the venue is really cool. Some really, really nice scenery there, which they make in-house. And the tables are really pretty. And again, if you want to see them, or if you weren't there, Crane, I'm looking at you, follow me on Instagram, because the pictures are there in a glorious Technicolor. Oh, it's not a compliment, I think it's just a statement of fact. You are some sort of enthusiasm machine. And Paul was there, obviously, being a Say Hi Paul event. So it was nice to see him. And Crimson was there, who assists with Paul wrangling, basically, as far as I can work out. She made loads of really cool merchandise, which I believe quite a bit of it got sold, and the proceeds from that will be going to a Ukrainian children's charity, I think. Paul, if you're listening, please feel free to correct me on that. I think it was a children's charity, you said. Anyway, going to support humanitarian efforts in Ukraine in some capacity. So that's cool. Coming into building this thing, I didn't look at the stats for any of the weapons. I just wanted to build a thing that looked kind of cool. So I don't know whether this is the optimum meta choice for the, and I don't honestly care, for the Forgefiend. These ecto launchers. So yeah, I'm just proceeding. Aaron 582 Railways. Don't think I've seen your face before. Welcome. I took along some of my guard. I made two 500-point forces from scratch. Started in January this year doing them. One of which was Imperial Guard narrative list. The other was an Eldar narrative list. Narrative in the sense that they both represented what I considered to be a patrol for the individual factions, and constructed in such a way that it was mounted, so everyone could fit in a transport, with the exception of the Eldari, who had some rangers, sorry, that didn't fit in the transport. But everything on the Imperial Guard list fit in the transport. And both times I got beaten, which is fine. I learned lessons. And stories were told, which is all you want, really. A good time was had by all, and the good time had by all was my armies. Well, the thing is with Imperial Guard, you put them on with a shovel and you take them off with a shovel as well. There's not a lot of middle ground there. Eldari surprised me, but that was entirely down to my own tactics, I think. And some bum dice rolls. But, yeah, I was basically outplayed on the Eldari. They're a very mobile force. Very mobile. And I picked Bieltan, who are the most mobile of the mobile, because one of their things is they can take their battle focus, which is a lot of these days can move, fire, and move. That's called battle focus. And I think, off the top of my head, the Bieltan battle focus move is either always a 6 or rolls of 1 and 2 are counted as 3, or rolls of 1, 2, and 3 are counted as 4, one or the other. So they're very nippy, and I completely forgot about that. So I could have ducked out from behind cover, blown up some Alpha Legion, and then ducked back behind cover. But no, I put them a big clump in the middle of the field, and got deep struck on by Alpha Legion Terminators, and that was about the end of that story. I took out some Greater Possessed, but didn't really do any other damage to it. So I learned that Eldar don't play the big blob at the middle of the field game very well. So that's that. Right, okay, let's get some Zenithal on here. Should we do that? Are we going to do that? Should I put a Zenithal on here? Are we going to do that? How much trim is on this thing? How much trim is on this thing, and where are my glasses? Two critical questions. Well, my actual glasses are on my face, so that's a good thing. My painting glasses over yonder. Okay, so there's quite a bit of trim on there, so I think what we'll probably do is... Right, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to be weird. Right, so white ink, right, so there are some biomechanical bits on the underside of this thing, some not many, so we're just going to hit them up. Just so it takes a bit of paint later. Somebody was wondering the other day about how I can get things painted so quickly. This is how. Airbrushes. Airbrushes and practice. And there's still some meaty bits in there which I can go in later and actually pick out with sorry, still some mechanical bits which I'll go in later and pick out with some mechanical colours, but there's some definite meat there, definite demon meat. So we're going to hit that up with that. What else are we going to do? We are going to do this in white. We're going to go over this again, but I need a good strong white foundation here, otherwise it ain't going to glow. I mean, you can already see how that works. Right, okay. Clean that. Clean the white out of the brush. Oh yeah, that subscribe if you want to chat folks thing is actually a lie. I think I enabled public chat. Someone who isn't subscribed wants to test that. So I appreciate not everyone wants to subscribe to me. I mean, I can't understand why. But, you know, there are some very strange people out there that are averse to pressing the subscribe button and the notification bell and commenting on things and doing all those good stuff that supports channels. But, you know, why not let them try it? Might convince them to press the subscribe button. Right, so there we are. That's that cleaned. There's the airbrush, and we're straight in with this stuff, which is my automatic go-to for any metallics. Basically, it takes ink really well, so you can change the shade of everything, and it just goes on like a dream. Cool. Right. I'm just barely tapping the button here, and it's just coming out with some crazy colour. And on the edges, capture the bits and bobs. But it wasn't working for a second there. It looks a bit sort of silvery now, but it won't once I've got everything else on it. So I've got some nice oily stuff and some streaking grime and my wonderful brown sauce that I stick on everything these days because it works so well. And it's a lovely mix of colours. So a halfway house between, well, because it is literally a halfway house between Seraph and Sepia and Agrax Earthshade. darkened down with a bit of blue. So it's a good catch-all for recess shading. Now when you're painting quickly like this, you don't even need to be super quick, super even about the coat. Just trying to get some colour on there, and it can even be a bit mottled because that adds variation and interest to it. And it'll work well when it comes to weathering. You can hear that whistling across the top of the... Whoops. Yeah. So I went a bit over the top there. So I got a lot of silver there. It doesn't matter. Don't matter. It don't matter. Nice, nice. That's mostly cabling, there's no meat there, that's good. There we go. It's already looking fairly good, but we've got to get the Word Bearer colours on there as well. But before we do that, we are going to, what are we going to do? We are going to tip out this metallic gunk into another container. Give the airbrush a bit of a clean. And we are just going to go in with a bit of, I mean honestly any orange paint will work. You only need a tiny bit of this. This is actually green stuff rust, but it doesn't need to be this at all. Any orange paint will do. And we're just going to go in there, and once we've got some orange coming through there, yep. Add a little bit of colour and interest here and there. And I'm going to be going over this with red anyway, so what it does is it just adds an extra layer of interest to things. And again, you can be quite haphazard and slapdash with this. Even that's, you know, I messed up there, but even that looks quite cool. Adding colour and interest, and I'm going to be going over this anyway with some Rhinox hide and some actual Word Bearer colours in a minute as well. So we're just adding colour and interest to the actual, to the piping really, to all that horrendous brocade they have all over their armour. Just makes painting Chaos Space Marines Legionaries, sorry, such a daunting prospect at times. But you just got to show them no fear. You just got to kind of get on with it. They don't fear you. No reason you should fear them. Yep. So it's just adding a little bit of rust. Normally I try and demonstrate a technique that you can use either dry brush or airbrush for. This is not so good for dry brushing. I mean, you could stipple this on, but it's a lot easier with an airbrush. People should get airbrushes, and that is a hill I will die on. Right, so that's a bit of orange. So that's the lighter notes gone out there. I'm just going to stick on a bit of, where is it? Raw umber ink. Still a little bit of orange left in there. So just a drop of this, just adds a few darker notes. I'll show you what that looks like. So that's taken all that bright orange away, just dulled it right down. And we're going to hit up some areas in the shade. Not that would necessarily be darker in the shade with rust, but so you just got a slightly different shade of rust. Extra level of interest. There we go. Get up under those carapace segments. Not that it really matters, going to be going over most of this in reds anyway. But I'm demonstrating the technique because this is how, where is it? This is how I knocked out loads and loads of this stuff in next to no time. Exactly the same procedure. So how are you guys finding the old R lists? Have you had a chance to play with them yet? So now we've got Tyranids on the horizon, so they should be angry and full of teeth. Right, where are we? Where's my Rhinox hide? Displaying my usual level of preparation. I've put the Rhinox hide away. That's it. Alright, okay. A bit of Rhinox hide in there. Come on. Come on. Rhinox, come on. There we go. That's my compressor being fun. Right. Quick dash of that. Hey CA, how you doing? Mixing the paint. You stick your finger over the end of the airbrush, and just the air comes back up and through the paint, which mixes it up. It's not a good idea to do it that way, but you know. isn't working. This is spidering a lot, which means the mix is too wet. Right. But we'll persist. Yeah, it's way too wet. Okay. If you want professionalism and somebody knows what they're doing, other channels are available. Give that a quick mix. See if that's any better. Yeah, that's drying out nicely. Excellent. Right, okay. Game on. Let's get that dried out. But word bearers aren't brown. Why are you painting it brown? Well, because it provides a nice deep base for the red, which will be along soon. That, and I can't really imagine the paint jobs on these things get maintained that well, because people approach them with spray cans and they get eaten. So you may think it's a struggle getting your dog into the bath, but you try it with a 12-foot tall metal elephant with massive teeth. But really don't want to go in the bath. And this guy isn't going to run and hide up under the bed either. No, he's just going to consume your soul. Right. This is where my slapdash airbrushing is not quite doing what I wanted to do. And I'm going to have to end up going over that edging anyway. But doesn't matter. I demonstrated the technique, and that's useful. I mean, I could, if I were being super careful about all this, I could be doing this with a regular paintbrush rather than an airbrush, but I'm practicing my airbrush skills, and with practice your speed increases and your skill increases. And that is the secret to pretty much anything. Practice, practice, practice. remember distinctly when I got back into this hobby a couple of years ago now, after a lengthy hiatus, and I looked at all the wonderful miniatures that everyone was churning out, all these new techniques that just weren't a thing when I was a lad. And I thought, I'm never going to be able to do that. My stuff's never going to be as good. And as the meme says, not with that attitude. You just got to look at what people are doing, find out how they're doing it, and then have a go. Have a go yourself. And it's not a case of you might surprise yourself. In most cases, you will surprise yourself. And then people will end up looking at your work and think, well, how do you do that? I could never do that. I'm doing very well, CA. Thank you for asking. I'm doing very well. I am back on the pills. The pills appear to be working. Sort of. And things are going well. I'm still very much peopled out after the event. I have tolerances for people. This is no reflection on the people themselves. It's just, you know, how things are. If I'm surrounded by lots of people, I get tired very easily. So yeah, Paul Fuss was a struggle, but I got through it because it was a lot of fun, and you guys were great. Seriously, if you're not a member of Paul's channel, which I think most of you guys will be, but there's one or two that aren't, Craig, I'm looking at you, and you've got an at all narrative focus to your gaming, you really do want to check Say Hi Paul out, because that is entirely his bag, and is a following of people for whom that is also their bag. So all the games are a case of people applying common sense to it, narrative common sense, and why am I pinching the underside of a miniature? Nobody's going to look at that. That's another time-saving thing. No one's going to look at that. It's going to be on a base. Where's the base for it? The base for it is somewhere. Put the base somewhere. Where's the base? That's it. No one's going to look under there. Not going to see anything. So, don't need to worry about making that a work of art. Right. So, I mean, already that's starting to look a bit sort of... I probably want to do a bit more to that before putting it on a table, but you know, it's not awful. And that's taken me what? Half hour? Whilst talking to people. And it's a complex miniature. Okay. So I think we're done with the brown. Now if I was doing this by brush, I'd probably use corn red at this point, but I'm not doing this by brush, I'm doing this by airbrush, so I'm going to use something different. Yes, I'll be playing Word Bearers at Crimson Ribbon, yeah. So the thing with watching people paint live is you get to realise just how much gets cut out of the tutorial videos that people put up. And not everything is perfect the first time round. You will mess up. You will rethink things. And I think for myself it's as important to show that kind of thing happening, because you know, people worry. So is this only happening to me? I do everything right first time. Well, nobody does everything right first time. It's not a thing that happens. And I guarantee you the likes of Darren Latham and Duncan Rhodes and everything, and well, we know Ninjon screws up. He even makes reference to it. But yeah, Duncan Rhodes and Darren Latham and all those super pro painters, they screw up. They do. It's how they got so good. That's meta. People are good at these things because they got the failing in first. That's part of the reason I do what I do here, is I'm normalising failure. Exactly, James, exactly. Nothing teaches you lessons quite like messing up. I'll be attacking them next. So I've got some crimson down on this side. So I'm going to be concentrating the crimson a bit. Oh yeah. Yeah, you didn't see me put the paint in, did you? No. Oh yeah. Scarlet red. But yeah, her gamer. Mainly up the top. So there's a bit of a light gradient going on. Almost a zenithal with this, except it's not really a zenithal. You're just making sure there's a bit more dark and a little less red up the top, down the bottom than there is up the top. Because when you look at a miniature, you're looking at it usually from above-ish when it's on a table. Unless you're painting for a competition, which I don't do. That ain't my bag, baby. Oh, excuse me. Not COVID, I don't think, anyway. I better check. see I've got a bit of a colour gradient going on there. We're not worrying too much about getting the red on the trim, because you get reflected colours and all sorts. Oh, what I have noticed is there's another set of plasma rings there, which I'll have to remember. And you're getting a suggestion of red. Okay, compressor's back good. I thought my compressor might have died there. It's been threatening. Yeah, there we go. I mean, it looks very mottled, but that's by design, because it creates interest. And once I've got the wash on here, that'll really start to pop. Yeah, let's get a bit of reflected light on that. Because silver tones like that will reflect the colour of the carapace, so you want a little bit of that going on. Just to make it super special. Okay. Pour off a bit of that. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yep, you come. Hi, Paul. How's the music for you today? I'll turn it down for you, or are you okay with it? How's the music for everyone, in fact? Is it too quiet? Too loud? Glory red. Let's get some of that going on. That's again. Actually, that's quite a dark red. Let's not do that. Let's do no. That's opposite direction to the way I wanted to be going. Let's get just right. Cool. Excellent. There we go. So there's some Pro Acryl transparent red. I swear by these colours as well, because they've just got pigment for days. They're just amazing. And with them being transparent, they blend really well. So I'll just get a few spritzes. There we go. That's coming through there. And that'll just take the colours up a notch. So again, from the top. And it doesn't even matter if there are some panels which are a slightly different colour to other panels, because repairs will be made when the demon's okay with that. I'd imagine there's a certain amount of negotiation goes on there. But If a panel is a different shade of red, it could be newer or older, replacing damage, something like that. In fact, doing that in the odd place, again, adds a little bit of interest. See you, Paul. He's a nice chap. Go and join his channel if you're not members. Seriously. You won't regret it. So you see it's going on quite splodgy, but when it dries, it blends in really well. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, let's go with the underside. What are we going to do with the underside? We're going to have to do something odd and fleshy. I suppose it's going to start depending what type of demon it is that we have here, whether it's a demon of Slanesh or a demon of Corn. I mean, I think we're probably leaning towards possibly even Zinch, and that'd add a nice bit of contrast to it, wouldn't it? Yeah, Zinch, let's see, so that'd be kind of a bluey kind of colour, wouldn't it? Let's see how that works. Let's get... might work quite well with the red actually, because that was the blue I tried out on my Harlequins, and that's yeah. Okay, that's that. Yeah, if we're going to be doing blue, that's going to need to be clean. Run that through there. What books would I read? Aside from army books, what would I recommend for someone getting into Age of Sigmar? The rulebook. Core rulebook. That's probably not what you meant though, is it? You meant Black Library or something, didn't you? Honestly, I haven't really delved into Black Library that much. I've read 2 Age of Sigmar books. Well, had them read to me because I tend to get audio books. One of which was... let me just call up my Audible account, because I can't remember the names of these things. Right, Audible. Audible, really, really good. Am I logged in? Yes, I'm logged in. Right, where's my library? Right, some of you may know I have a Sylvaneth army list, and a book that was recommended to me was Dark Harvest, which is a kind of a horror book, and puts them in a really, really cool, really dark light. Dark light? You know what I mean. So yeah, I'd recommend reading that. And for a general overview of how things operate, I suppose, and the war with Nagash and this, that and the other, I'd probably start down the Soul Wars chain. Soul Wars by Josh Reynolds. So that was really good. That gave me a lot of interesting ideas. Beyond that, I haven't really touched Black Library for AOS. It's all been. I get inspired by miniatures more than stories, to be honest. I'm a painter first and foremost, gamer second. Do like a bit of lore, but it tends to be in that order. Right. Okay. Are we still coming out purple? Ah, we're all right. So I hope that answers your question, CA. It's about as much of a question as an answer as I can give, I'm afraid. You are asking the wrong person. That's a question for Paul, I think. Definitely a question for Paul. Right. Okay, that's again super blue. Right. May or may not work. That's kind of weird. I mean, not terrible, but it's all the same, kind of weird. I think I might have to hit that up with some pastel colours in a bit. Some blue in there as well. Sort of select. So even though it's not flesh and blood there, get that suggestion of a creature that's been turned into a machine, or a machine that's been turned into a creature, or whatever these things are. Demons bound into machines. An unholy mix of machine and demonic flesh. So you can almost imagine a flamer of Zinch or a blue horror or something getting shoved in a machine, and it's like, yeah, I'm really big, but I'm made of metal. Boom. There we go, there's that. Right, let's clean out the airbrusher again. This is the downside to airbrushes. You tend to spend a fair bit of time cleaning in between colours. But if you can plan things out, so you're not repeating yourself with colours, it doesn't actually end up being that bad. Right, the question is now, what colour should the plasma conduit coil things be? I'm starting to think yellow, because that kind of continues the Zinch vibe. I think it might be time, almost. Oh, no. Right, okay, we're going to set that aside for a bit. Put that down. We're going to pink plasma coils from Joe there. Pink. I mean, yeah, can do that. What are we like on time? So we've had an hour, so I've got maybe an hour. Let's see what we can do. Let's turn the airbrush off for a bit, because I'm going to need to get some metallics laid back in. Hey Google, turn off the compressor. Thank you. Right. Okay. Let's get a bit of that out onto the palette. Into a brush. Let's use this one as an example. Let's just go around the trim again. So anyone's got any questions about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, please do pipe up and I will try and explain. Otherwise it might not be explained. I mean, the tutorial aspect of these live streams is fairly secondary. It's more sort of watching me whilst I hobby and while you get on with your hobbies rather than anything else. I have done tutorials. I do tutorials. I will do more tutorials. I've just not been on a very much of a tutorial kick of late for varying reasons. But that may change. But now I'm just going over the metallic bits with that silver spray, where it's silver spray with the dura-aluminium, just picking out, making things look metallic again. And where I've got some rust or some other shade of colour that isn't where the red spilled over, I'm just a little bit careful and just sort of dab it on to make it look like it has been corrosion chipped away. So you maintain that colour variance and interest. Anywhere where the red's gone over, just hit it up, because we'll be going over with a wash in a minute anyway. I think uneven on the finish of this as well will also help add to the weathered look. I keep saying this, but it bears repeating. If you're looking for something that's going to win a golden demon, you're probably watching the wrong channel. But this will look okay on the field, and that's what I'm about, getting miniatures ready so that they can be played with. See what I mean? I've got some red over all of that. Doesn't matter if it's a little bit, but this is quite a bit. A little bit would just sell as reflected light. This is too much. I mean, losing that metallic aspect. Doesn't even matter too much if you go over the edge of the trim and just hit the the red, because that will sell as chipped paint. It's slightly more of a problem with Marines though, if you do that, because the Marine armour, in most cases, is made of ceramite, which isn't metal. It's a ceramic composite. There will be exceptions to that. I know the Iron Warriors, oddly enough, use a lot of iron in their metal in their construction of their armour. The Death Guard, indeed, also use a lot of actual metal. And a lot of actual metal got used during the Horus Heresy anyway, because ceramite's expensive and logistics tend to break down during war. So they built their armour out of whatever they had to hand. So basically, ignore what I just said. If you want your traitor's armour made out of metal, it can absolutely be made out of metal. You can be a bit slapdash with this and it'll still sell as metal because of the way your brain works. It's not as jarring to see areas of light and dark next to each other when you're dealing with metal. Because that's what metal looks like for the most part when it's reflecting. Why am I dry brushing with that brush? Don't do that. That's how you lose brushes. Yeah, that's an old Citadel based brush, that'll do. So I'm just gonna brush over that. Get that metal sheen back. And now, give that a plane. Give that a wipe out. Ooh, that was a lot more wet than I thought it was going to be. Clean up on R5. Oh, God. Yeah, that's gone everywhere. Find some more tissues. There you go. Still a bit of black primer in there, but that doesn't matter. Hands covered in everything now. Right. I was going to do that. That's what I was going to do. In fact, I didn't even need that. That's what I needed. Yeah, not the camera. I'm like a professional. A bit warm, that is. Why is that getting warm? there we go. My brown liquid. Recipe available in other videos. And I think I mentioned it earlier on today. So you've got really no excuse. Right. And that just goes on everything. And that will get into all the crooks and nannies. It will dull and grimdark everything down. And give you good base tone. And just contrast what's happened there. That's had no wash on it, that's had wash on it. It can take a little while to dry. It's got to be a little bit wary of pooling as well. But it just adds an extra sort of dimension to the whole thing. And you could just almost leave it at that. Let's get this on the main miniature as well, so that that's drying whilst we're painting the rest of this. And this can be drying whilst we're getting this wash on the main miniature. So by the time we get back to these, that wash should be dry. Pop those there, come here. Right, okay. See, I've not even got red on that panel, but it doesn't look out of place because it could be a replaced panel or something like that. Adds a little bit of interest, a little bit of story to the miniature, and that's from messing up, you know. Again, there's me painting the underside of the miniature. You don't need to do that because nobody's going to see it. Just get the wash in to all the recesses. Get it over that as well. Get it everywhere. And it will just dull and grime everything. If that's the effect you want, this is the stuff you want. I use it because it's super quick and gives a really cool effect. I mean, look at that. It's just, yeah. Now, I haven't used the gloss variant because there isn't a gloss variant, so that's why I haven't used it. Of Seraphim Sepia in there, but you could use a gloss wash from Games Workshop. I know they do a Null Oil one. I think they do a gloss Agrax as well. I could be wrong on that, but that works really well on polished surfaces and things because it adds that sheen to it. Okay, we need a bit more of that. I tend to go through this at a fair rate of knots, but it's lasted me a good long while. I mean, that's in that pot there is a pot of Agrax and a pot of Seraphim Sepia and about half a pot of Lamium Medium, and it's lasted me a good long while, and that's using it like this. It's just slathering it everywhere, you know. But it also works quite well as a pin shade. because it's got a bit of blue in it. So it just looks like dirty flesh. Ah, now that's interesting. That is interesting. The ink is reactivating. Okay. We learn lessons every day. Yeah, so the ink is reactivating there as well. That doesn't actually matter. It's going to add a bit more of a mottled look to it, and we're going to dry brush it anyway, so that's not a problem. Right, where haven't I slathered in gunk? Right, on his back, get it all up there, into the recesses and the crevices. Tail. Yeah, there we go. And the lime medium actually changes the way the inks behave as well, so you get a slightly different effect on the in the end. Let's get that dried off. Excuse me. Right, sip of tea. Right. Pink plasma cores. Are we set on this, Joe? Are you set on your pink plasma cores, mate? Because I can. And it would look kind of zeechy. I can absolutely do that. Should we do that, ladies and gents? Pink? Or do we want yellow or red or blue or sort of turquoise? What do we want? Oh, he's gone quiet now. He's gone quiet now. Call him out on his pink nonsense and he goes quiet. Bright pink. Okay. Hey Google, turn on the compressor. Make sure it's just cleaned out because we're going through it with white again. Bright pink. Oh, I don't know. Things I do for you lot, I don't even get a super chat out of it. It's crazy. Any other live streamer would be like, maybe you want to super chat me the colour that you want this to thing. I'll do the thing. No. I just put my miniatures in your hands. Things we do. So that wasn't quite dry, so I'm just giving it a quick spritz with the button push full forward, so there's no paint coming out or anything, it's just air. He says, as a load of paint comes out. We live and we learn, eh? So again, we want that super bright white, but we don't care about overspill now because that'll just come out as that'll come out as OSL. There we go. Right. Okay, there's a bit under the jaw that I can't do because it's still sopping wet with the ink, and that won't work. Okay. That possibly isn't going to work so well. Never mind. Right. Kind of need to wait for that to dry now. Just cleaning out the airbrush again. Again, you can do this with an airbrush, you can do it with a dry brush. The process is a lot more involved. Airbrush and dry brush and wet blending. That's how you would generally do this. But we're not doing that today. Bright pink, you say? Bright enough for you? That does not sell on camera anywhere near like it does in person. That is crazy bright in person. Bright pink. There we go. He's not even watching. I bet he's turned off. Oh. Time for a bit of brush work so that we can get a bit of variation on there. We're going to use Corax white. No, let's not use Corax white. Let's use an actual white. Let's use white ink because it's here. Clean palette, clean palette. There we are, clean palette. Now then. No. Okay, carry on as we mean to go. Right. Water in there that's not tainted. Clean water is the key when you're painting anything with white. Let's pick one of these. Hey Google, turn off the compressor. So we're just adding a bit of white ink onto the brightest areas of the miniature, which really helps sell the glow. Let's take that down a bit further so it looks like there's a pulse of something going through. And the other side as well. The reason I'm using an ink is because, again, it's transparent, so it helps with the blending. Who knew this was going to turn into a lesson in OSL? So you just want to kind of imagine where light would be striking. And light travels in straight lines. And the brightest point is always going to be next to the source. I mean, it stands to reason when you say it. But when you're up to your elbows and how do I do this, the simple things can sometimes elude you. You don't need to completely match it side to side, because you're not ever going to be looking at both sides of a miniature at once unless you're stood by a mirror and being really anal about it. So you don't need to worry about that too much. Knock the colour back with the tip of your finger. Don't be afraid to get your fingers involved. There we go. And you can just keep going up and up with this the highlighting, because with it being transparent, you just put layer upon layer upon layer until you completely at pure white. I don't know how that looks on camera, but it looks okay by me. I'm going to do something which may ruin everything. That's not what I'm looking for. Now I can be forgiven for this one because I didn't know I was going to do it. So, not that either. And if I can't find what I'm looking for, I may end up not doing it. And that might just have to be a thing you live with. There we are. That's what I found it. Right, let's get a bit of water over there. So we are going to hit this with a tiny bit of watered down Druki Violet just beneath on the underside in the shadow from where the OSL will be hitting. Just blend everything together. A bit more Druki Violet. Oh, you are still watching? I thought you'd gone. You're like, I know what I'll do. I'll tell him to paint pink, and then I'll just turn off the stream and go to bed. That's what I figured you'd done. I had you much maligned. Okay, perhaps I don't need this as diluted as I thought, because it's just not getting the coverage in there. Bit of Druki Violet in there. Just get a bit more contrast going on. Blend everything in. See, that's instantly picked out where would be in shadow from that. Yeah. With the overspill you can sort of blend it in. With the overspill you can blend it into the colour surrounding so it looks like overspill is where I was going to go with that. But again, concentrate the shading away from the light source. Again, it sounds really obvious when you say it, but it's a very easy thing to forget. Because a lot of the time, I don't know about you lot, but when I first started painting miniatures I had a very sort of nebulous concept of where the light was coming from on my miniatures. I don't think I ever really made a decision when I started out. It was just sort of there was light, and I kind of relied on ambient light to do to shade the miniatures. But that was, you know, you can't do that. The miniatures are too small, really, to put shade and contrast where you need it to be for them to actually pop when they're on the field. But when you're doing OSL techniques like this, you do need to consider where the light's coming from, because, you know, it's in the technique, in the name of the technique, object, source, light. So there's the object in the middle there, and that is the source of the light. So you need to be conscious of where you're putting shadow so that it looks right. But don't worry, your brain will tell you if you're getting it wrong. because it will look wrong. And OSL is one of those techniques, very much like non-metallic metal, which is a technique I don't use really, that it will look terrible until it suddenly doesn't. So it's a case of pushing through that envelope and keeping on going and trusting the miniature. Yeah. Trust yourself as well, because you've got the technique, you've got the skill, or you will have after you've practiced. And trust that you know what you're doing, and it will go right in the end, because it will. And if it doesn't, for any reason, the worst thing you have to do is start again. And then you get more practice. So there we go. Bright pink plasma on our Zinch Demon Forgefiend thing. I mean, that just plays so well with the dark red, doesn't it really? That's just bonkers. Yeah, I mean that's too saturated for the camera to even pick up properly. That's just nuts. And with that same pink under the chin there. Yeah. I'm liking where this is going. I am liking where this is going. Right, cool. So let's get back to looking at weathering on the metals. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab ourselves a little bit of sponge, and we are going to pour a little bit more of this. One of these days I'm going to finish a miniature on this live stream, to the shock of everyone. Get a bit of that silver, duraluminum, whatever it is. Just very gently, just sort of dab around the edge, just to bring back that metallic, so it looks like it's been rubbed away in places, and it just adds a little bit of light and interest. That's all you're doing. Light and interest. Almost like edge highlighting. You're just adding on metallic light and interest, just to bring it back to where it was, or close to where it was in terms of looking like it was metal. Just dab this on, stipple, stipple, stipple. You can do a little bit of wiping, but mostly you're just dabbing. And it's just bringing this back to life. This is actually a weathering technique. So you've learnt something else there. You've learnt a little bit of OSL, a little bit of weathering. Quite a productive evening. I can see various places where the ink isn't quite dried in the recesses, so I'm going to be a little bit cagey. Maybe a big block like that doesn't really matter, because again you're just creating ideas of chipped paint on leading edges and where the corrosion's chipped away, and dead light. And all this is like washing up sponge, tiny little bit of washing up sponge, just dipped in there. Get the worst of the paint off before you go in, and it just brings it to life. Like I say, you can rub a bit. I mean, you can rub as much as you want, you know. Privacy of your own room, do what you like. This does work on smaller miniatures as well. You need to be a little bit more careful, obviously. But this technique's just amazing for vehicles and things like this. I mean, you can still see there's a little bit of colour variation there from the rust that I put on earlier and the brown ink, particularly there. Yeah. So if you get that, just adds another level of interest to it, and even sells it even more as actual metal rather than painted plastic, which is the essence of this hobby, really, isn't it? Disguising plastic as other materials. Another bit of sponge, different bit of sponge, slightly bigger bit of sponge. Okay, lightly dabbing. The harder you dab, the more paint you're going to get on there, and the better coverage you're going to get. But that's not entirely what you want. See, this is actually, once you get the hang of it, this is actually really controllable. And again, because the armor plates here are all made of metal, it doesn't really matter if you go over a little bit. Because it will just look like chip paint. Yeah, see, there. I mean, I messed that up, but it doesn't look too bad. That going on for 2 hours now, aren't we? So there's another area I didn't put any red on there, but again, it looks like repair. It looks like story. It adds story to the miniature. It was a complete accident, but it's added story. Again, there's another unpainted plate Again, complete accident, but that's clearly a replacement part. I'm going to go over the legs and things a bit more care later. I'm thinking I might actually hit them up with a bit of an oil wash. Oil washes are fantastic. I may actually do a tutorial on them at some point. But if you're umming and ahhing about pulling the trigger on oil paints, why are you umming and ahhing? Just do it. Seriously, for a big set of oil paints, like where did I put it? Where did I put it? I mean, something like this cost me, I think, a tenner, and there is more oil paint there than I will use this year. Get that little bottle of white spirit, and you are away. You are away, and you are off and running. There is no reason not to try it, and you will get such interesting effects, and it will raise your game like you wouldn't believe. The only thing I would suggest is, if you go down that route, get yourself a set of synthetic brushes that you only use for oils. That is a lesson I have learned for myself. No doubt there are many YouTube channels out there that could have warned me that I really ought to have a dedicated set of brushes for oils, but I went in feet first and learned by doing. So now you can listen to me and say, and go and get yourself a set of dedicated brushes for your oils. But I think in some of my other videos I have used oils, so you can see what crazy effects they can do. They really do add another dimension to painting. I think I'm going to leave that there for now, because we're getting on a bit. We're getting onto the 2-hour mark, and I need to sleep tonight at some point, and I will need to possibly have another cup of tea. But I mean, you can see 2 hours. And you assemble that, and it'll look okay on a table. I may do a follow-up to this where I add a bit more weathering to it. I do like to put a bit of streaking grime and oil and grease from Meg on there. These require a bit of white spirit as well to use properly. But there. And what do we think of that? To be going on with. Obviously that needs to be done in pink, which can now be done because the oil, the wash has dried. Yeah, I mean, I'm quite happy with that. Let's get that on there as well. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. And we'll also get in there with a bit of rust streak as well, which is another thing. It's exactly the same stuff as streaking grime, but it's a different colour. And that works best on iron and things. So there we go. What I'm probably going to do with the blue is I'm going to get a slightly lighter shade of blue. I might even get an oil involved there. I'll just pick out the raised areas on the muscles, and I'll go in around the metals and pick them up carefully. and again hit them up with something like that, which will help sell the metal. Probably don't want too much rust going on around here, because I mean they're constantly on the move, parts, and if a part's on the move it's not going to rust up, so they're going to be quite clean. Greasy, grimy, but clean in terms of rust. There's some nice little details there, isn't it? See that there? That's just a random wire. This is a really cool miniature. I don't know how old it is. Anyway, right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. You've been a wonderful audience. If you like what I do, don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe and leave some comments. Even if you've been chatting all night, extra comments once the video goes up live really does help out the algorithm and help out the channel. Don't forget to hit subscribe and that bell icon thing, which also helps the channel out. There are numerous links in the description for this video for things like my Patreon, if you feel like supporting me like that. No obligation at all. Thank you very much, Mick, for doing that. There's also an option just to buy me a coffee, and all sorts of fun stuff like that. I will see you next week, if not before. I will try and get some tutorials on the go fairly soon as well. So that'll be something else to look forward to. But for now, that'll be Moog signing off. I have done unspeakable things to Innocent Plastic, and I am and will always remain a bearded idiot. Good night for now.